we have a tremendous amount to gain from this evening and from upcoming sessions. This is the second of a four-part series in this semester, quote-unquote semester. And God willing, we're going to finish our review of Likutey Moharan Torah 33. And again, it's just an overview kind of learning of it in order to become familiar with the basic underpinnings of the lesson so that we can then apply them to the halacha that I have selected to learn with you. So I hope that everybody who joins us remembers or has reviewed in some way the material from last week, and if not, we'll do our best to try to bridge any gaps that need to be bridged. But I highly recommend anybody that's listening to this part for the first time, please listen to the first part so that you have the complete thought. So we're starting now with Likutey Moharan Torah 33. We're starting with paragraph 4, Daled. V'zeh yedua, and this is known. Shahatorah hainu hamidos, that the Torah is midos. Midos, we said before, means a measure. And we're going to understand what that means in the context of Torah and Hashem. And Hashem has midos, he has measurements. What does all of this mean? What does it mean that the Torah has midos? Hainu hayamin, and that's the days. Days have measures also, as we said before. Days have a beginning. Each day has a beginning and an end, and a set number of hours or minutes within it. In these midos, in these days, Hashem causes his love to dwell. So Hashem has, in a certain sense, from our perspective, has narrowed or funneled his love into the midos called Torah, and into the midos called Yamin, into these measures. I'm going to discuss a little bit more about what this means practically and spiritually. Not that spiritual isn't practical, of course it is as well. Kamosha Kaseb Zohar Kadosh, as it says in the Zohar, Yomam Yitzada Hashem Chazto. Daily, Hashem commands his kindness. Shahachesed Hainu Ha'ava. Chesed is love. Chesed, kindness, is synonymous with love. We're kind when we have love, we are kind. Kamosha Kosov Avas Olam Avticha. An everlasting love, I have loved you. Alkain Mashachti Chesed. Therefore, says the pasuk in Yirmiyahu, I have drawn to you Chesed. So what do we see from that pasuk? We see a correlation, since the pasuk refers to Ahava, to love, and to Chesed, we see a correlation between Ahava and Chesed. Ahava is synonymous with Chesed, kindness. Hu Yoma Da'azio in Kula Yomin, and it's a day that goes with all other days. Hainu Hamidos, meaning the midos. I know this sounds abstract. We're going to try to bring it into a little bit more focus. The 7 lower spheros, in the order of the spheros, starts with Chesed and then continues with Gevura, Tiferes, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, and Malchus. Those are the 7 lower attributes, spheros, realms in Kabbalah. The highest one of the lower 7 is Chesed. What that means is that Chesed permeates all of the lower spheros. The component, the attribute of Chesed, and now we're saying chesed is synonymous with ahava, that permeates all the layers. Just to reflect something we've spoken about before, when Hashem wants to cause his presence to be felt and known and realized by humans who live in a temporal world, in a physical world bound by time and space, etc., what he does is he causes his essence to be filtered down through the various spheres. So when Hashem wants there to be more chesed, he'll direct more of his energy, so to speak. I'm not putting specific words on to describe Hashem. I'm just using terms that are familiar to us, of course. But Hashem will cause more of his energy, so to speak, to be filtered through the sphere of chesed. If Hashem wants the world to experience, or a person to experience more of his gevura, more of his might and strength and midas hadin, then Hashem will cause more of his energy to be focused through and filtered down on the side of gevura. And so it goes through the lower seven spheros until it gets to Malchus, which is the lowest of the spheros, which is where we live in our world. So what we're saying here is that since Chesed is the first of the lower seven spheros, every sphera underneath it has an element of Chesed within it. Chesed is a midah, it's a measure, it's an attribute of Hashem, through which Hashem allows us to get to know him, to relate to him. I'm not saying this. Humans aren't saying this. Hashem is saying it. Hashem is saying, one of the ways I'm going to make myself known to you is through my character of chesed, of kindness, or loving kindness, or love, ahava. And that's the first of the seven lower spheros, and that permeates every one of the spheros below it, sometimes to greater or lesser extent, but each sphera below the level of chesed has to have some measure of chesed built into it. Excuse me. Okay, so that's what it means that when it says, when Rebbe Nachman tells us that that chesed is a day that goes with all the others, what it means is that chesed permeates the midah of chesed, the measure, the character trait of chesed permeates every other one of the spheros as well. So it's a measure, it's a characteristic that goes along with gevura, that goes along with tiferes, that goes along with netzach, etc., etc. So chesed is the primary force of Hashem that permeates reality. Ki hamidos hem tzimtzumim le'elokuso, that, and we've already touched on this, but the midos, the measures of Hashem, so to speak, characteristics of Hashem, are tzimtzumim of his godliness, meaning that Hashem is infinitely vast, broad, and we have no way to relate to him on any level, except by the fact that Hashem allows himself, for our benefit, to be perceived through certain interactions or experiences that into which he has, in a certain sense, limited himself so that they can be more tangible to us. These are called tzimtzumim le'elokuso, constrictions of Hashem's godliness. Now, to apply the concept of a constriction to godliness is an oxymoron, but for our benefit, so that we can understand Hashem, Hashem tones down to a certain extent, I could use that expression, his own godliness, and allows it to filter down to us through these different character traits. That's what it means, ki amidos hem tzimtzumim le'elokuso, that the midos, meaning the different spheros, we're using those terms interchangeably, are constrictions, funneling of Hashem's elokus, Kedei shenuchel lahasigo, so in order that we should be able to get close to Him, we should be able to uh, achieve some level of relationship to Hashem. Al yedei midosav, through His midos. Ki efshar lahasigo, so because really, excuse me, I skipped. As it says in the Holy Zohar, begin dishtamodin lay, in order that we should be able to know Him. That's why Hashem allowed Himself to be constricted, or constricted Himself. He funneled down into these different character traits. Ki below midosav efshar lahasigosav, because without these midos, without these character traits, and attenuating, meaning minimizing to whatever extent we need His own immense godliness, we would have no way to relate to Hashem. But now that we understand that Hashem, in a sense, from our perspective, is comprised of Chesed and Gevura and Tiferes and Netzach and Yesod and all the different spheres, now we can start to understand a little bit about Hashem and relate to Him, how He wants us to relate to Him. Meaning we don't just make up in our mind how we want to relate to Him and just run around where we want. We relate to Hashem in the way that Hashem designed the creation to be able to relate to Him. Anything else is misguided. And because of the love with which Hashem loved Klal Yisrael, and He wanted that they should become attached to Him, and to love Him, specifically from this physical realm, from this physical world. Hashem doesn't want us climbing some imaginary spiritual mountain and living in a different realm and then saying, okay, here I am, Hashem, let me get close to you. No, Hashem created us as physical beings, and it's within this realm specifically that Hashem wants us to be able to relate to Him. Remember, in the first session, we said that no matter if a person asks you, "Where is your God?" you say he's in the worst place. He's in the city of Rome, where there's apicursis and people don't believe in Hashem and people are doing terrible things, right? Why? Why do we say that Hashem is in the worst place? Let's say Hashem is in the best place. No, because in reality, there's no place in this realm that's devoid of godliness. It may be that in that place, the godliness is covered up, concealed, hidden. You have to work a little harder. You need some different tools to discover it. But no matter where we are in this physical realm, we have access to the divine. We have access to Hashem. That's the way Hashem created the Bria. It may seem that we don't, but that's only an illusion. The reality is that Hashem is very close to us, even in the physical world, even with all of the challenges that we have, even with our Yetzer Hara, even with all of the interactions we have to have with all types of unsavory people doing all types of things that are completely in contradistinction to what the Torah wants from us, to live a life of Kedusha. Regardless of all of this, Hashem is very close to us. And He wants us to reach out to Him and find Him from this spot specifically. So, Hilbishes Alukuso, in order for us to be able to accomplish that amazing feat, Hilbishes Alukuso, He enclosed His godliness, the midas HaTorah, in the measures of the Torah. So we've been using the word midos in a lot of different ways, meaning characteristics of Hashem, midos meaning days, hayamim, the days, the measure to them, the beginning and an end, and a finite number of minutes or hours. And now we're using the term midos to refer to the Torah itself. Why? Because the Torah is comprised of words. Each word has a beginning and an end. Each letter has a form. If you look at each letter has a distinct, unique makeup to it that creates a boundary between it and another letter. Every idea expressed in the Torah is also bounded by itself. When it's talking about the mitzvah, when the Torah talks about a particular mitzvah, let's say the mitzvah of mezuzah or Shabbos, then it's talking about that one mitzvah. And then it goes on to talk about a different mitzvah. Or when the Torah is telling us something that happened with the avos or some other incident, it's focusing on that. So it's very departmentalized. And each section has its unit. So in a very big way, the words of the Torah, the letters of the Torah, the messages of the Torah, the mitzvahs of the Torah are all expressions of Hashem in a measure, in a midah. So the Torah is also referred to as midas. And this is the idea of the 613 mitzvahs. Ki Hashem yisbarach shir b'daita. Because Hashem kind of like understood in his mind, kaviyachol. He understood. Sha'al yidei ha-mitzvah hazos, that through this mitzvah, whatever mitzvah we're referring to, nuchal lahasigosav, it's possible to achieve him. It's possible to gain closest to him. Tzimtzim es elokuso, he constricted his godliness davka be'elo hataryag mitzvos, specifically into each one of the 613 mitzvos. So if you want to think of it conceptually, you may think of it this way. Hashem left us a roadmap, or gave us a roadmap to discover him, despite the fact that we're in a very, very physical, let's say, it doesn't feel so spiritual environment, but Hashem gave us a roadmap. The roadmap has 613 different pathways, and each one of those pathways is unique and distinct from the other pathway. These are the mitzvos. By observing the mitzvos, we can connect ourselves with Hashem. There's no other way to connect oneself with Hashem. Banging on drums, running around in the Himalayas, these may feel spiritual, and maybe they are cathartic to one's mind in some way, but they are not drachim, pathways with which to achieve closeness to Hashem. How do I know? Because when Hashem spoke to Moshe on Har Sinai and gave him the Torah, he commanded Moshe to tell Bnei Yisrael, this is the pathway I've created for you to get close to Hashem. Each one of the 613 mitzvos is its own unique pathway, and when we include all of them, either by doing them all ourselves, to whatever extent we can, or even the mitzvahs that we can't do, we learn about them, or we have a desire to learn about them, then we take advantage of a super highway of 613 lanes going at whatever tremendous speed we could possibly go, all headed towards Hashem. And the mechanism by which Rebbe Nachman is explaining Hashem did that was Hashem instilled in each one of the mitzvos himself, so that at the end of the road of that mitzvah, once somebody has done the mitzvah, therein resides Hashem. Again, Hashem resides everywhere. I'm saying that once someone fulfills the mitzvah or mitzvos, at the end of that process, he will discover, or she will discover, a closer relationship to Hashem. Lamashal, Rebbe Nachman is going to give an example. I'm going to speed it up just a little bit now that we have the foundation. So, for example, Hashem estimated or understood in his mind, kaviyachol, so to speak, the concept of tefillin, the mitzvah of tefillin. Shaha mitzvah hazot tzorech liyos kach, a mitzvah needs to be a certain way. Hainu, that is, Arba Parshios, it needs to be comprised of 4 sections of the Torah. You can't decide, I find that other section so beautiful. It speaks to me. I want to put it in my tefillin. You're not allowed to do that. That's not the mitzvah. Nor can you say, well, I want to take out this particular parsha, this particular portion out of my tefillin. Oh, it doesn't fit, or I don't like it, or for whatever reason. That's not going to work either. The mitzvah has boundaries. It has midos. It has measure to it, and it has to be done properly. And with regard to tefillin, that means that there are 4 parshios. There are 4 sections of the Torah that are written on cloth, on parchment, and placed in the tefillin. Lar babakin and sha'or ksubim, and they have to have 4 sections of for each of the parshios. Uritzuos sha'or, and the straps have to be made out of leather. So the tefillin themselves, the boxes and the head and the arm, have to be made out of leather, and the straps have to be made out of leather. Because this is what Hashem. Again, I'm struggling with Shir B'daito because it really means like he kind of like estimated in his mind, but I'm uncomfortable expressing Hashem that way. So I really want to say that Hashem built into the mechanism, that this was the way he wanted us to get closer to him. That through this tzimtzum, through this constriction, Hashem imbuing this mitzvah with who he is, his essence, that's the way that it's possible to reach him and to serve him. Therefore, he didn't say that the 4 batim, the sections, should be made out of silver or gold. Well, wouldn't that be nice if the tefillin were made out of gold? That would be so honorable, or at least silver, right? That would look beautiful. That's not what Hashem wants. That's not what Hashem wants. Although we do have a mitzvah that our mitzvahs should have a hidur to them, and should have a beauty to them, but they have to be within the framework of halachically beautiful as well. Also, because this is what Hashem did when he imbued each of the mitzvahs with his love. By imbuing each mitzvah with his love, he energized it as a vehicle through which we can get closer to him. That's why Shmiras HaMitzvos is so vital to Avodas Hashem. No one can claim that they are being a good Eved Hashem, a good servant of Hashem, if they are lax in their mitzvah performance. Of course, everybody is trying their best on whatever level you are, but understand that we're operating here with the understanding that at a minimum, we hold very, very strongly that the mitzvahs of the Torah are immutable and cannot be compromised in the slightest. Nimsa, through the love that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has for Klal Yisrael, he enclosed himself in the character, in the measures of the Torah, meaning the mitzvahs. So that each and every measure, each and every midah, each and every mitzvah has his love. That Hashem's love for Klal Yisrael, again, is imbued in that mitzvah. Nimsa, Misha Mafshid as HaTorah Melbushe HaKlipos, one who strips the Torah from its garments, that's in other words, from those we spoke earlier, that the letters of the Torah in let's say dark places of the world, or dark places in our hearts, where we're not so spiritually connected, those environments, the words of the Torah, the letters of the Torah, are covered with layer upon layer of clothing, so to speak. In order, as we said in the first session, that if a person is at a low level of Hashem, it'll blow them out of the water. It'll be actually detrimental to that person rather than beneficial. Whereas if a person at least understands, okay, this is where I'm starting, this is where I need to work from, fine. Then he can go from there and he can remove layer upon layer from the mitzvah, from the words of the Torah. And as he starts to do that, a very beautiful and interesting and powerful process takes place where the letters of the Torah start to shine brighter and brighter. Put into English, the person gains greater and greater levels of clarity as far as where they're supposed to be, why they're supposed to be there, what they're supposed to be doing there, and they feel connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in whatever circumstance they find themselves. So how do you remove these layers that are piled on top of the Torah? We do it through Kfiyas HaYetzer, through conquering our Yetzer Hara. Azai hu mekorav el hashalom. And by doing that, by not allowing our, we're going to discuss this a little bit more in a few minutes, but by not allowing our Yetzer Hara to get the best of us and constraining our Yetzer Hara to serve us rather than us serving the Yetzer Hara, by doing that, we bring ourselves closer to peace. Peace, P-E-A-C-E. Moshe Kasher, as it says in the pasuk, Shalom. All its pathways are peace. To what is the pasuk referring? Torah. So by conquering on whatever level, to whatever extent, every day, a person's Yetzer Hara, a person gets clarity in Torah because he connects himself to peace. And peace is synonymous with Torah. Because we said in the beginning, why peace? We said in the beginning that a person should always be at peace with himself and with those around him and his surrounding. And to whatever extent a person is fighting himself or fighting his surroundings, and I work on this a lot myself, I'm certainly not above what we're discussing here. I'm learning it too. I'm sharing what I'm learning. But to the extent that a person is at war with himself internally or with his environment, to that extent, he's allowed his Yetzer Hara to hold sway and to cover the words of Torah and mitzvahs, and along with that, kind of like lose the path to get closer to Hashem. It's never lost entirely, but it just makes it harder. So the person, as a first way of going about clarifying his pathway to Hashem and seeing the letters of Torah, having clarity in his mind, being at peace with himself, person needs to engage in battle with his Yetzer Hara and not allow his evil inclination to control him. Again, to the best of one's ability. Torah yesh ba shnei bechinos. The Torah has two components, two elements, bechinas nigla or bechinas nistar. It has a revealed part and it has a hidden part. B'hanistar hazeh, and this hidden part, hu araisa da'adikastima. This is the Torah of the hidden ancient one. Meaning, Kabbalistically, that's a reference to Hashem in the sphere of Keser, unlimited Hashem. I can't even describe it any more than just saying that it's a reference to Hashem at the highest level of the spheros. But there's a Torah that exists on that level. The Asida level, that in the days to come, the days of Mashiach, that's the Torah that will be revealed. Now again, we have two parts to the spheros. We have the lower seven spheros, starting with Chesed, Gevura, Tiferes, etc. Lower seven, that's referred to as the Zeir Anpin. And we have the three upper spheros, Keser, Chachma, and Bina. Those are referred to as the Mochin, the mentalities, the mind, Kaviyachal, of Hashem. Whenever we refer to this world and any of the challenges of this world, the mitzvahs of this world, we're always referring to the seven lower spheros, and then in particular to the lowest one, which is Malchus. But whenever we refer to things beyond this world, we're referring to Keser, Chachma, and Bina. Those are beyond reality as we could ever relate to in our physical existence. In Asid Lavo, that's when Hashem is going to reveal the Torah that exists beyond our reality. I know this sounds abstract, but in a few minutes, we're going to make it very practical. Then, when this Torah that's in the hidden ancient one, that will be revealed, that when it's revealed, then there's going to be amazing peace in the world. Kamosha Kasud, as it says in the pasuk in Yeshaya, most people are familiar with this pasuk. The Gar Ze'ev in Keves, the wolf will live with the lamb, the Namer in Gedi, and the leopard with the goat. Meaning, perhaps natural born enemies, predator and victim, so to speak, will not have that relationship anymore. They'll be living in harmony and peace. That's unnatural as from our perspective. But in the world to come, that's what's going to be. Why? Lo yareu, they're not going to do harm to each other. Lo yashchisu b'chol hakadosh, they're not going to hurt each other on all of my holy mountain. That's the pasuk. Ki mola haaretz de'as Hashem. Why? Because the whole world will be filled with the knowledge of Hashem. Because knowledge of Hashem begets peace, even amongst polar opposites and even predators and their prey. And that's when the ahava in the das will be revealed. What do I mean? We said before that chesed is synonymous with ahava. And chesed is the first of the seven lower spheros, chesed, gevurah, tiferes, etc. But there's an ahava that supersedes this world, that exists in a realm far, far higher in kedusha than our realm of the seven spheros. That's the ahava that exists in the mochin, in the keser, and the chachma, and the bina. That's an unbelievably high level of ahava that we can't relate to now. Rebbe Nachman is going to discuss it a little bit more. But in Achas Yaman, in Yemos Mashiach, in Asid Lovo, the days to come, that's the mechanism which will be operative at that time. Okay, continuing a little more. Because there are two kinds of love. One is the kind of love that's constrained to days, meaning measure, meaning reality as we know it. Time is a constriction, space is a constriction. Everything about our life is affected by our reality of midos and our of measurement, and our reality is also known as yamim, of days, because days are also an expression of something that's finite, that has a beginning and an end. Excuse me. The first type of love is a love that exists in that realm. That's the first kind of love. Like we said above, Yomam Yitzhava Hashem Chazah. Daily, Hashem commands His kindness, meaning that Yomam, the days, right? Hashem is the realm of the day, meaning the lower seven spheros, our world, constrained by time and space. Hashem commands chesed, which we said was synonymous with love, meaning that Hashem has infused the natural bria, the natural creation that He created, with His chesed, with His love. Yoma da'azalim kulo yomen, and it's chesed, as we said before, is a midas, a characteristic that goes with all the other midas. It gets filtered down to all of the midas, all the way down to malchus. Shebechol Yom, that each and every day, each and every characteristic, Yesham Ahavaso, Hashem Yisparach Yisrael, each one has the love that Hashem has for Klal Yisrael. And this is very practical. This is actual. In other words, it's something that we can relate to. But then that Rebbe Nachman says there's a kind of ahava that right now only exists in potential. It's not actual, it's potential, meaning that it exists, but it hasn't been activated yet. It's lying in potential, waiting for us lavo to the end of days in order for Hashem to activate that love, that super duper high level love. This, Rebbe Nachman says, is the love that Hashem had for Klal Yisrael before Hashem created reality. When Klal Yisrael was still only, if I can use the expression, a figment in Hashem's imagination. It had not yet come to physical fruition, physical reality. So what we see here is, on a very fundamental, elementary level, is that there are two kinds of love. The love we can experience now in our reality, and a love that has not yet been potentialized, that will come into existence in the end of time, which is a much higher, pure form of love. Right now, we can't relate to that kind of love. For example, there's a certain kind of love that a father has for his son. Every parent loves their child. Everybody can understand this kind of love. And the connection and the love that exists between the son and the father, that exists in the mind of the father prior to the birth of the child, this kind of love is a kind of love that right now we can't relate to. We can only relate to things that exist because we exist. But we have to understand that the Kabbalah, Rebbe Nachman, is teaching us that there exists a form of love, a relationship that Hashem had to Klal Yisrael that supersedes time, space, and reality. We can't understand it, says Rebbe Nachman. We cannot understand this right now. But it does exist. We can't attain this. We can't understand this now. We can only understand things that are temporal, that can be conceptualized in a physical or even an emotional sense. Even our emotions are relegated very much to this physical realm that we live in. But the love that exists in Hashem's das, in his mind, is way, way beyond time and constraints. And that love is not covered over by any type of clothing. It's pure and it shines with whatever billion megawatts it has, which is Ein Sof. It's limitless. We can't understand this, but it's pure. The love that we get now, sometimes people, God forbid, say, Hashem doesn't love me. It could be that for that person, it's very hard for him to feel Hashem's love at that moment in his life. And he has to take another step, just one more step, to uncover some of the, like we've been discussing, the letters of the Torah, to make them shine. How does he do that? Again, by working on trying to conquer his Yetzer Hara. That will release the letters, that will release the mitzvos, that will release him to experience on a greater level with greater clarity Hashem, and the letters Kivyochel will shine. And in the world to come, she is gala at the end of days, the time to come. She is gala araisa da'atikastima, when we have the revelation of the ancient hidden one. In other words, Hashem's highest level. Yaz Yiskayim ma'amar chachamenu zichrono levracha, and then we'll fulfill what our chachamim have told us. Asidim tzadikim laharos be'etzba. The tzaddikim at that time will be able to demonstrate, will be able to show with their finger, like they did at Kriyas Yamsuf. This is my God. It'll be so tangible to them, the existence of God, they'll be able to point to it and say, that's Hashem. Hashem kivinullah. This is Hashem. Trust in Him. Hope in Him. Because during that time, in Asalava, that's when Hashem is going to strip away all of the clothing, all of the covering that covers His essence from us. But the point is it's not a game. Right now, the avodah that Hashem wants from us is with Hashem covered in clothing, so to speak. Hashem wants us to operate in a realm where we have bechira, where we have free choice. And the only way that we have free choice is if Hashem's essence is hidden from us to the extent that we need Him to be hidden, so that we can actually say, I don't know which way to go. I could go to the left and I could go to the right. I can do the mitzvah or I could not do the mitzvah. And will anything happen to me? Well, maybe not. So I have that battle. That's what Hashem wants us to choose. In that kind of environment, He wants us to choose Him, and He wants us to choose the Torah. He wants us to be mamlechem, to show that He is our King and that we accept Him upon us, despite the fact that we have a choice, that we could decide not to accept Him. That's real malchus. When someone has a choice and makes the choice to say, no, I have a choice, but I'm choosing the way Hashem has outlined for me. Yamalei haaretz de'as Hashem, and the world will be filled with knowledge of Hashem, kamayim layam mechasim, just like the sea covers the ocean, like the water covers the sea. Yizgal ahava shi b'das, and then the ahava that exists on the upper realm of the mochin, way beyond this world, on a much higher level, an infinite level, that's when that ahava, that love, will be revealed. This is all very important to understanding the halacha we're going to get to. If you have time, we'll do a little bit tonight. Actually, we're not going to have time, but next time, Belinetta. Torah, which is the inner workings of the Torah. As we said before, it's the godliness that resides within the Torah and the midos, meaning the mitzvos. Right now, this clothing covers his godliness. Meaning it's on the face of the Torah, meaning that it's not so easy to see Hashem behind everything we're dealing with. And when the inner part gets revealed, meaning Hashem's godliness, then peace will reign. About the animals, they're not going to do any harm to each other on my holy mountain. The whole world be filled with knowledge of Hashem. And then there's going to be a love coming from this higher level in the mochin, the highest levels of the spheros. And this is what it means as Pasuk Zechariah says, there'll be one day known to Hashem, meaning it'll be like one day to know Hashem, meaning the love, which is called Yom, will be revealed. As it says, Yomam Yitzhak Hashem Chazor. This is a pasuk we said before. Daily Hashem commands His kindness. Hainu HaTorah HaPnimius. This is the inner Torah, Shaisut Sefuna, that right now is hidden. Meaning that when Hashem created the world, he created it with light, and he saw that the light was good. And a rabbi said, Ki tov v'gnoz. What does it mean Hashem saw that the light was good? Oh, he said, oh, great, this is really terrific light. Meaning, what are our Chachamim saying? It's good to hide it. Don't let it out of the bag. Put it away. Hide it. Ki or haTorah hazos, because the light of this Torah, meaning the highest levels of Torah, meaning the highest relationship with Hashem's love, ein ha'olam kedai leishtamish ba. The world in its current state is not fit. It's not ready to utilize that kind of power. Torah nikra tov. And Torah is also called tov, good. Ki lekach tov v'sati lachem, as it says in the pasuk in Mishlei, ki lekach tov v'sati lachem. A good thing I have given to you. The nikra or, and the Torah is also called or, K'moshe Kazov, the Torah or. The Torah is light. So what we've done here is we've correlated the concept of light with goodness and Torah. And it all reflects back on the highest levels of Hashem's being and his love for Klal Yisrael. Yesh gam kein tzadikim shem tzipunim ministarim. Rebbe Nachman says that there are also tzadikim who are hidden. She'ein ha'olam kedai leishtamish behem. The world isn't ready for them. It's not fit, appropriate for the world to use them. The tzaddik nikra tov, and a tzaddik, just like the Torah was called or and tov, so too the tzaddikim are referred to as or, light, and tov, good. K'moshe Kazov, as it says the pasuk, Imru tzaddik ki tov, say to the tzaddik ki tov. So you see that the tzaddik is correlated to tov, the nikra or, and a tzaddik is also referred to as light. K'moshe Kazov, as it says, or zero tzaddik, light is planted for the tzaddik. So in other words, you see the relationship between light and a tzaddik and good and a tzaddik, just like you see the relationship between light and Torah and good and Torah. And then when these hidden tzaddikim, these hidden righteous people are revealed, and the hidden Torah is also revealed, then there's going to be amazing peace in the world. All opposites will come together. That the wolf will reside with the lamb, with the sheep. Because that's when this high level of love will be revealed. Because Hashem is making, it's one day known to Hashem, meaning in that day, in the end of days, Hashem will make himself known. That's what the pasuk means when it says, Yom Echad Yivadu Hashem, one day is known to Hashem, meaning Hashem will make himself known on that one day. Meaning there won't be good days and bad days. There'll be one day. It'll be Hashem's day. And the Bria, the creation, will be permeated, saturated with immense understanding of Hashem. And that will bring tremendous peace to the world. And this is the love that comes from the highest spiritual levels. It's not day or night. It's not good. It's not bad. There's no distinction. It just is what it is, and it's pure, and it's love, and it comes from Hashem. Right now, we see things as disparate, and a good day and a bad day, and we struggle to work each kind of day into relating that day with Hashem. In Asad Lavo, we won't do that. There'll be no good days and bad. There'll be one day, and that one day will be permeated with the reality of Hashem. But that's not where we are right now. Because that level of love is beyond time. And beyond any framework, any space, any concept of physical world. And even in the midas themselves, even in the character traits, the measures themselves, so each one according to its character, so each level, so if someone's on this level, and then there's an existence on a lower level, this level is considered to be the das, the high level, compared to this level, because it's higher. So even though we're about to say that even the lower part of this higher level is way beyond the higher part of the lower level. You see what I'm saying? So the higher level is comparable to das when compared to the lower level below it. As the rabbis have said, that which Chachma made a crown for itself, pretty nice, right? Chachma, wisdom, made a crown for itself. Asta anava, humility made aked l'silusa, a sandal for its heel, for its foot. So in other words, even above Chachma, there's a level called anava, humility. That level of humility took the crown that was on the Chachma, which is, let's say, down here, Chachma, right? The crown of Chachma, which is pretty high, anava, which is above it, used that crown as a sandal for its feet, because with the level of Chachma with its crown left off here, that's where the level of anava, of humility, goes up from there. So all that Rebbe Nachman really is saying is that each level has its low and its high, and the high of the lower level, the high of the lower level is the bottom of the upper level. Nimsa, so it turns out, Shamadrega Hapakusa Shalom Hayatzira, Hu Bechinas Das Olam Ha'asiyat Shetachtis. So there's four worlds. There's the Olam Ha'atzilus, Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya. Asiya is our world, and Yetzira, Bria, and Atzilus are subsequently higher and higher levels of worlds. Atzilus being right near Kaviyachal Hashem in his purest form. So all we're saying now is that the lowest level of the Olam Hayetzira, which is the third of the worlds of the realms from the highest level, Atzilus, Bria, and Yetzira. So the lowest part of Yetzira is the highest part of the Olam of Asiya, which is our realm. Again, it's the concept of the bottom of one touches the top of the one below it. So there's a person who has a certain love for Hashem within our physical realm, and that's a concept of that's above time, for a person that's below him. So what that means is, let's say, even a person in this world, there are people on different levels. A person on a higher level is comparable to having a level of das compared to that person on a little bit of a lower level. Again, we don't know who's on which level. And really what we're doing with this is just explaining the mechanism of how it works. It's important to understand, because even though we can't identify, let alone even ourselves, what level we're on and who's on a higher level, we don't understand what's going on in the different realms and Olam Atzilus and Bria and Yetzira, etc. But it's instructive to know how things work, so then we can understand them and utilize them in our daily life, which is ultimately what I say we're always going towards. This is what our rabbi said, that the words of the Kohen protect or guard das, the high level das, the Torah Yavakshu Mipir, and Torah you should seek from his mouth, from their mouth. Im harav domer l'malach Hashem tzvakos. If the Rebbe, not me, Rebbe Nachman, tzaddikim in our generation and in prior generations, if the Rav is a malach Hashem, is an angel of God, right? Hainu shekofes Yitzro, meaning he conquers, he bests his Yetzer Hara. Azai hu domer l'malach Hashem tzvakos. Then he's comparable to Hashem. Blessed is Hashem, the angels, the mighty, strong angels. Ilen the miskabrin al Yitzrehon. Who are the angels? Who are the mighty angels about whom the pasuk is told, the Zohar is talking? Who are the mighty angels? Those who conquer their Yetzer Hara. Because by conquering one's Yetzer Hara, as I osias the Torah bolting and mitzarfim, that's when the letters of the Torah start to shine. And that's the concept. We've all heard this phrase when the Bnei Yisrael, when the Jews accepted the Torah on Har Sinai, they said, Nasa, first we will do, and then we will hear. We're now about to hear a little bit of a different take on that phrase. Ki oseh obone osias Torah, because someone conquers his Yetzer Hara, builds the letters of the Torah, then he's able to hear the words, the sound of the Torah from above. And from this rabbi, for sure, that kind of a rabbi is someone you should seek out to hear his Torah. Because for sure he knows the Torah. How does he know the Torah? Because the letters are screaming out at him. Why? Because he's conquered his Yetzer Hara, so he's allowed them to scream out at him. He's uncovered them. He has a clear vision of what the mitzvahs mean and what they're telling you and how they can influence your life and how they can change you and grow and help you to grow and achieve your spiritual goals. That kind of a rabbi is a person from whom we want to learn Torah. And even from the physical world, where we normally think, no, this is not a spiritual environment, that rabbi knows how to remove those physicalities and find the spiritual that lies within it. So when the Bnei Yisrael said, Nasa v'nishma Har Sinai, really what they were saying was, Nasa, first we will conquer our Yetzer Hara, and then we will be able to hear the words of the Torah. Then we will be able, those letters, those mitzvos, those midos, those characteristics of Hashem will come shining so brightly through that we'll be able to see them and relate to them and love Hashem through these mitzvos and through the words of the Torah. We just have 1 more minute, or let's say 3. Every person has the ability to taste the ahava shebedas, to taste the sweetness of Hashem's highest level of love. Kol echad lefi b'china, so each person according to his own self. So everyone is on a different level, has different challenges, has different abilities. But each person, no matter where you are and who you are, or what your challenges have been, or your struggles, your successes, and your failures, you have the ability to taste the ahava, not just the ahava shebiyamin, that the ahava that's in this realm, but you have the capacity, even before Yemos HaMashiach, to taste the ahava shebedas, the higher level das. You won't know it so as clearly as we will see it, obviously, in Achas Yamin, but you do have the ability to connect to it and to taste it. I feel even though now we're constrained by time and space. Hainu kishi kasher as libo ledaita. How? By connecting his heart to his das, to his mind. Oftentimes, when I read the first part of a sentence, it sounds like gibberish, God forbid. But then when you complete the thought, to me, it comes out so immensely clear and instructive. I hope that that that's happening to anybody that's listening, and especially those who are joining me. Because every Jew knows, generally speaking, that there's such a thing, if I could say that, known as God. He knows, familiar with the concept that there's a God. But the wicked allow their hearts to control them. Their hearts say, "Oh, go eat this tray food. I'll have to eat it. My heart's telling me I need to do it. I need to have. I need to do the thing that I don't even want to say it. But the Rishayim follow their heart's desire, so to speak. But also the midos, the yamim, the days, the measure, Hashem's measure, is also found in the heart. As the rabbi says, Hashem wants your heart. He doesn't want robotons walking around, keeping Shabbos, putting on tefillin, putting on mezuzos, doing whatever. He doesn't want feelingless individuals doing mitzvahs. Of course, regardless, we do the mitzvahs and we stay away from the averos. That's whether we want to or feel like it or not. But really, what Hashem wants is He wants us to clean out our hearts. He wants us to dig deep down into our hearts and serve Him with a full heart. That's what Hashem is after, the heart. Ubilvad shichaven asli b'l'shamayim. The Gemara in Brachos tells us that to a certain extent, it doesn't matter exactly how much Torah one learns or how successful one is in completing a particular mitzvah. It may not even be up to him in the end. He could try, and if it's the right time for him to fulfill the mitzvah, Hashem will make it happen. If not, it may not happen. But what's the most important part? The most important part is the person directs his heart to Shemayim, to Hashem. He says, I'm doing what I'm doing, l'shem Shemayim. I'm learning the Torah, I'm fulfilling the mitzvos, l'shem Shemayim, to the best of my ability. I'm connecting my heart to Hashem. Ki ikaran shal midos hu'alev. The main thing with regard to the midos, the mitzvos, and Hashem's characteristics is to engage the heart. Nimsa shemikasher aslibo ledaito. So it turns out that when a person connects his heart to his mind, shiodea sheish elokim, yodea, a person knows that there's a Hashem, bichlal, in general, shemalo kol haaretz kavodo, and all the world is filled with His honor. Yodea b'yedias haTorah, and he knows that there is such a concept of Torah, because shekol be'es libo ledaito hazeh, when he, in a sense, forces his heart, directs his heart to his mind. In other words, he doesn't just follow his heart's desires, he's mevatel his heart to what he knows is the right thing. He allows his mind to control his heart. He still has a heart. Excuse me. He still has a heart. He is utilizing his heart, but his heart is not the thing that is driving the ship. The thing that's driving the ship is his mind, his das. That's his mind is now controlling his yetzer hara. Now his heart is in his rishus, his heart is in his control. He can say, okay, now I want my heart to be happy, and his heart will be happy at a wedding, during a Yom Tov, whatever it is. There's times when the heart has to be sad as well, and he'll be able to activate that. But he won't allow his heart to get away from him and distract him by convincing him to do averos, God forbid. That's how we connect our hearts to our minds. Last couple of lines. And this, says Rebbe Nachman, is how a person receives the higher level love. And he can attain this hidden light according to his capacity, even now. Hainu shat tzedikim ba'Torah shayad ganus v'tzofan ad atam mimenu, meaning the Torah and the tzaddikim that were hidden from him until now. Meaning, he learned Torah, but he couldn't relate to it. He did mitzvahs, and it didn't make sense to him, or he couldn't relate to it deeply in his heart, in his mind, or he couldn't identify the true tzaddikim. They didn't seem to speak the same language. They didn't seem to talk to him, inspire him, or guide him, right? That's what it means that these things are hidden from him. But when these things are hidden from him, when he forces his and controls his heart and makes that, subjugates his heart to his mind, to his das, azai mekabel halev shushorish l'chol midos. That's when the heart can receive, which is the source of all of the midos, all of Hashem's characteristics reside in our hearts. And mekabel or ha'ava shabadas, and we can receive that light from the highest levels of das. Hu ha'ava shaheh b'koach bein hakadosh baruch hu liyisrael kodam habriya. And this is the love that exists in potential between Hashem and Klal Yisrael. So this is not the end of the Torah in Likutey Moharan, Torah 33, Lamed Gimel. There's a little bit more. I didn't feel that the rest of the Torah was as relevant to the halacha that we're going to be starting Be'ezus Hashem next week, but I so very much wanted you to understand the concept of good days and bad days. Additionally, there was one other point I wanted to make. With regard to bad days, when somebody's having a challenging day, they have to work extra hard to understand what their avodas Hashem is in that particular day. It's not obvious. When things are going well and smoothly, we can relate to things, we're happy, we feel good about the mitzvahs that we do, things seem to work and talk to us, we feel at peace with ourselves. When we struggle and have difficult days, things are not that way. They seem disjointed, Hashem seems distant or harsh. It's during those days that we have to exert a little more effort to uncover those klipos, those levushim, those clothing, those, however you want to describe it, that are covering Hashem, awareness of Hashem from us during those times. The bad days that I'm just referring to, it seems that Rebbe Nachman is saying are a reflection of our own Yetzer Hara. That's the punchline. They're a reflection of our own Yetzer Hara. And the way out of the quagmire is to understand our Yetzer Hara and fight it. And to not allow our hearts to control our minds, but rather to let our minds control our hearts. And in doing so, we will see that the bad days that we've been experiencing are really not bad at all. Because the more Yedias Hashem we have, just like in Asim Lavo, just like when Mashiach comes, there'll be no bad, there'll be no wolf, there'll be no lamb. Everybody's going to exist. The polar opposites will be able to peacefully exist because the Yedias Hashem, the knowledge of Hashem will permeate reality. Similarly, if I had that Yedias Hashem right now, even during a hard day, I wouldn't experience anything. If I didn't have a Yetzer Hara, I wouldn't be experiencing a hard day. I would only be experiencing a different day of closeness of Hashem. This is what I believe Rebbe Nachman is talking about when he says that even in our realm, even in our current state, to whatever level we can achieve some taste of that higher level of ahava every time we conquer our Yetzer Hara. Does that? And it's not an all or nothing. To whatever extent you can, even if you do it once and fail twice and do it again, and going back, whatever extent is so precious to Hashem. He knows your battle. He knows where you're at. He knows your challenges. Each step you take will be rewarded with this kind of love and clarity. God willing, next week, and the following week, we're going to learn the halacha based on this Torah, and I hope that you'll enjoy it so much more after having weathered the experience of learning a Torah Likutey Moharan at a fast pace. So Yashkayach, thank you for joining me, and I look forward to next week. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. kind words. I hope that you were able to grow as I grew from our learning. Thank you. Have a good night.